So now I'd like to invite up to the stage Guy Wolf, who, from what I hear, needs no introduction, but it sounds like he's been a community organizer. I think I'm going to have to speak with him more soon because he's in our district. I've heard his name many times. I've never had the pleasure of meeting him until tonight, and it's really wonderful. He's been working with Mr. Hightower for a number of years. He'll tell you about that. But he organized the League of Rural Voters and the Clean Water Action back in the day. So here he is, Mr. Guy Wolf. Thank you.
It's not the first time Jim Hightower's been to La Crosse or to this area. When's the last time La Crosse County, this area, voted red? Republican. Anybody remember?
1984.
That's correct. The Reagan Revolution. Since that time, since 1986, most of western Wisconsin has voted blue. The New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Boston Globe have often pointed after presidential elections to this cell of blue in rural Midwest United States. How does that happen when so much of rural America votes Republican? I'd like to tell you what I think and how that happened. In the early 1980s, I was organizing on farm issues in northeast Minnesota and North Dakota. My grandfather, Valentine Wolf, was the first vice president of the State Bank of North Dakota. He was an NPL legislator for more than 16 years and led to the impeachment of a Republican governor who was not an NPL member named Governor Moses. He died. He was brutally murdered while he was in office. Prairie politics, farm politics, has had a long, wonderful history. It spread over into Minnesota, and Minnesota later became the Democratic Farm Labor Party. It spread into Wisconsin. They're fighting Bob the Follett and others. But there's always been this incredible streak of populism in these states. In 1985, after that lousy 1984 election, the League of Rural Voters, who I worked for, and on whose board of directors served Jim Hightower, decided to put its resources and money into the state of Wisconsin. Tom Quinn, who's the head of Farmers Union, myself, George Seaman from Organic Valley, and other people began to organize and get out to vote in western Wisconsin. Not going to typical large towns like La Crosse or Eau Claire, but to actually rural areas. Did thousands of GOTV ads with Jim Hightower in the background, a lot of the ads. We did a tremendous amount of work. Jim came repeatedly. I still remember the day on the Jesse Jackson tour for president that we had over 2,000 people in Amory, Wisconsin, and Jim's nodding his head up. With the Rainbow Coalition, hundreds of people from the Rainbow Coalition coming up to Amory, Wisconsin to a farm. Prairie populism has always been here, and it's had a tremendous impact on us. And I thank Jim because I never would have moved to Wisconsin. I'd never been able to work here without the support of the League of Rural Voters and the work that he did. Ever since then, we've learned a lot from Jim. Jim was the Secretary of Agriculture in the state of Texas, and he organized farmers, and he organized black farmers, Hispanic farmers, all farmers. We sent black farmers from the South to Wisconsin to tell us how to organize. Because black farmers knew all about what it was like trying to get loans and having their farms taken away by the banks. Jim Hightower helped us to learn about how to organize co-ops. You see this hat? Tom Quinn, George Seaman, and I, and two other people wrote the bylaws for Organic Valley in my living room. Yeah. We knew that we had to take a stand against low farm prices. And what was the price of milk in 1984? Anybody know? $10. What's the price of milk today? 13. Yeah. Rural America is dying. Farmers can't make a living based on that. We knew back then one of the only things we could do was to listen to the advice of Jim Hightower and organized farmers. That's what happened. Organic Valley, as you all know, has more than 700 people that work in Vernon County, has hundreds of additional farmers. All of my neighbors are Organic Valley farmers. We have sustainable farms in our backyards. We have a co-op downtown that's been propelled, believe me, by a lot of what Organic Valley has done for this area. We've done a lot. I'm going to ask all of you a couple of questions about prairie populism, because since that time we've stayed blue for the most part. How many people here worked to increase the minimum wage in the city of La Crosse? Anybody remember that campaign? There's a few people here. They told us it couldn't be done. When minimum wage was $5.25, we were told it would never be possible. We were the second city outside of Madison to raise the minimum wage in the state of Wisconsin. How many people here remember the vote to ban gay marriage in the state of Wisconsin? Anybody here work on that campaign? All right. One of the only counties outside of Dane County to vote against that, to actually vote against the ban on gay marriage was La Crosse County. Yeah, that's grassroots populism working again. Yeah. How many people here realize that we passed a referendum in the city of La Crosse against the Iraq War? Overwhelming against the Iraq War here in a rural city in rural America. And I want to thank all the people that helped for that. But I think we owe a lot of that to some of our mentors, and one of my mentors has been Jim Hightower all along. Yeah. And in closing, I want to say something to Jim personally, because it means a great deal to me. I worked at the university the last 20 years, and I did a lot of environmental organizing there, and I taught environmental organizing. We used to take a busload of students every year to Fighting Bob Fest to hear Jim Hightower, to hear Bernie Sanders, to get them excited. Last Saturday, I stood at the wedding of Pablo Ruiz, one of those students, who later became the head of Obama's New York State campaign, who led as a campaign manager for Jeff Merkley's campaign in the U.S. Senate. I talked to Ryan Schreiber, one of those students, who is now helping to defeat and has done a great job at defeating the largest proposed coal mine in the United States history in Alaska. I talked to Benny Gruhl, who has helped designate 2 wilderness areas in Washington State and Oregon. I talked to Kara Penover, who is an aide for Senator Schilling. I talked to one of the newest farmers for Organic Valley, a young woman who now organizes young people to get into organic farming. I could go on, but 30 of those young people are still working full-time as professionals in change-making professions. And I owe that to people like Jim Hightower, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. We stay blue because we work at issues. We work at real things that impact real people and make real changes for all of us. I think all of us are really tired. I am especially tired of all the stupidity in presidential and other politics that never talk about issues. I think all of you should know that one of the reasons I started CARS, Citizens Acting Against Rail Safety, to fight the oil bomb trains, is because the Keystone Pipeline and all the oil coming from Canada was allowed under the Canadian-American Free Trade Act. The TPP is only going to follow up on that. When Hightower came here, around 1985, Alice Chalmers closed their doors. Thousands of people in La Crosse lost their job. Heilman's was bought out in a hostile bid takeover by the owners of Foster Lager from Australia, by junk bond money. But we fought back, and we have a strong brewery today back in the city of La Crosse. But we owe it to all people like you, people who believe in La Crosse, people who believe in progressive politics, people who you can believe in were impacted and were changed by Jim Hightower. Thanks for coming, Jim. Woo. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. What a inspiring occasion this has been already. I'm touched by Alicia talking about holding up the sign, so Ron Kine would have to be able to see it. And by Myron talking about being the tall man who could reach up and touch the ceiling of the tent. But it just reminds me of an old saying, even the smallest dog can lift his leg on the tallest building. That's our power. It is the small people combining together to lift our legs and to make a difference, to change this country, not with one election, not with one action, but with a combined event over the eons. That's what has made America great. The ordinary people rebelling, daring to stand up. And it began before America was America, Shays' Rebellion. After the founding of the country, the John Adams and them in Massachusetts were using the courts to steal the farms of the people who went and fought the war. John Adams and them didn't go to fight the war. They sent other people to fight the war. And those people came back and rebelled. They got crushed. Shays' Rebellion, Daniel Shays got crushed, but it kept coming. It kept building. And over the decades, we've built a country that's based on democratic values of economic fairness, social justice, equal opportunity for all people. That's what we represent. And the more we stand for that, the stronger we're going to get. So it just makes me happier than a flea at a dog show to be standing up here looking out at all of you free thinkers and democratic Democrats, you corporate greed whackers and right-wing butt kickers, you bodacious buck-overs. As we rally here in La Crosse to make this final push for the election of an actual, authentic, progressive to represent the workaday people of this congressional district. A guy named Ken Hubbard, more than 100 years ago, turn of the last century, was a humorist, very popular humorist, sort of a precursor of Will Rogers, and he said, every now and then an innocent man gets sent to the Congress. And I think that's what we have working here. Is not innocent in the way of the world, but innocent of the business as usual money game in Washington, innocent of Congress's constant capitulation to the elites on Wall Street and in the corporate suites. That's what Myron represents. So first, let me just thank Myron and his family, and also all of you, most importantly, all of you who make up the feisty Myronista Brigade for the scrappy, savvy, stunning People's Campaign you have run against that money establishment. By going directly at the grassroots, by representing the common good rather than the uncommon greed of the super rich, by walking steadfastly in the footsteps of FDR, Eleanor Roosevelt, and fighting Bob La Follette. You're not just building a winning campaign, but you are reviving the historic progressive soul and purpose of the Democratic Party. That's what's involved here. And you outsiders are driving the corporate insiders crazy. That's a pretty short ride for a lot of them. I come to you tonight not just from Austin, Texas, but from South Austin. We're a little more irreverent over on the south side of the river down there. That's where Molly Ivins and John Henry Falk and myself and others crazies live. And our slogan on the south side is, we're all here because we're not all there. that's why we're all here tonight and in this campaign, because the powers that be are not at all there in terms of grasping America's proud progressive values of fairness, justice, opportunity for all. Far from that. The plutocratic, autocratic, kleptocratic, corporate elites are knocking down the middle class and holding down the poor. You know, the economists have a technical term for what they're doing to us. It's called stealing. Faster than a hog eats supper, they're stealing from us. Remember that song Woody Guthrie had, Pretty Boy Floyd the Outlaw? Talked about outlaws, said, as through this world I travel, I see lots of funny men. Some will rob you with a 6-gun and some with a fountain pen. It's the fountain pens who are doing the serious stealing in our society today. I'm talking about the downsizers and privatizers, the Walmart wage whackers and the Monsanto Franken food hucksters, the bosses, the bankers, the big shots, the bastards, the bullshitters who think they're the top dogs and we're just a bunch of fire hydrants, you know, out here in the countryside. What they don't want us to think about is that inequality does not just happen. Inequality is caused by the actions and inaction of corporate and political decision makers who use their positions to move money and power from the many, you and me, to the top, to the few, them. That is the real politics of America. It has been from the very start of this country. As we say in Texas, it's politics with hair on it. It's the real politics about power. From 1776 to August 6, 2016, the great progressive struggle has always been about addressing this political reality. Too few people control too much of the money and power in our country, and they're using that money and power to take more for themselves at our expense. That's the great fight that we've always been in. And to enthrone themselves over us, the modern day robber barons on Wall Street and up in those corporate suites, have deployed their full arsenal of political weaponry, their lobbyists, their front groups, their PR firms, their union busters, their Fox News, the Koch-funded think tanks, the academic hucksters, the propagandists, the free trade scams, their Congress critters and governors, their Supreme Court justices, and money, oodles and boodles of corporate cash. They put all of that against us. You know, they say that in sex, I don't know much about this, but Myron was informing me about it earlier. Said, in sex, using a feather can be erotic, but using the whole chicken, that's just nasty. They're using the whole chicken. So the crucial question for political candidates, whether you're running for school board or U.S. Senate or President of the United States, is always the most basic one. Whose side are you on? Yeah. That's the question we have to ask every time. Whose side are you on? And as we have learned the hard way, from the disastrous invasion of Iraq to the ongoing coddling of Wall Street banksters, it's not enough to answer that question by saying, well, I'm a Democrat, so trust me, I'm with you. I mean, I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. There's always a motley gaggle of pusillanimous politicos. My new favorite word, pusillanimous. It's a clean word, you can look it up. Pusillanimous politicos who run as Democrats, but they're weaker than Canadian hot sauce when it comes to standing up for the people they're supposed to represent, the working day majority of this country. I can tell you, you are not for farmers, you are not for workers, for consumers, for the environment, for the poor, if you don't have the guts to go against the powers that be that are running roughshod over all of the above. That's what politics really is about. Are you willing to stand up to the greedmeisters in our country? So don't tell me who your friends are, tell me who your enemies are. That's the important question. I think of an exemplar of democratic politics who understood who his enemies were, Franklin Roosevelt, who in the midst of the Depression was confronted by reporters who said, well, the Wall Street barons, your own peers. After all, FDR was a very rich man, and Eleanor was a rich woman as well, separately. So they had great wealth. And he said, they say that they hate you. And Roosevelt said, I welcome their hatred. Now that's the politics that's real. That's what we have to have again. A willingness to say, I welcome their hatred because I am willing to oppose them for what they're doing to the workaday majority of the country. So let's be frank here, or Mary, or Antonio, or Lucinda, or Ron, whoever. For 18 years, you've had a congressperson who says he's all about serving the people of the 3rd District, but he's using serve in the sense of serving you up to the powers that be. Take his relentless push for the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Right.
Please. As I was a sponsor of the amendment down at I was on the platform committee of the Democratic Party down in Orlando, and I was the sponsor of the amendment to say no vote on the TPP and the lame duck or any subsequent session of the Congress. No vote at all on the TPP. It was the structural reform that would have stopped TPP in its tracks right there. TPP, as I said then, is just a little shop of corporate horrors. And why would it be that? Well, because global corporate chieftains wrote the TPP. You think that Obama would have you believe that our trade negotiators wrote the TPP. 500 corporate executives and lobbyists sat around the table offering amendments, receiving the language and adjusting that language to serve themselves. Those 500 people were at the table. You were not at the table. Workers, farmers, small business people, local governments, consumers, environmentalists, senior citizens, the global poor. We were not at the table. There's an old saying in negotiation, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And that's exactly what we got out of the TPP. Only 28 Democrats supported the passage of the fast-track legislation. Fast-track, another word for railroading, deals like the TPP through the Congress without any possibility of the members of Congress, your representatives, meaning you, being able to amend it at all. You have no amendment possibilities on it. Congress surrendered its sovereignty to these 500 corporate executives. It's a shameful, traitorous example of politics in action, of corporate politics in action. Only 28 Democrats supported that, and it passed by only one vote. Ron Kind was that vote. He was one of the 28, all right, but if he had not voted, it would have failed. It would have failed. Obama has hailed Kind as a tireless advocate for Wisconsin. But I don't know that Monsanto and Walmart and et cetera are the residents of Wisconsin. You are the residents of Wisconsin. But I haven't come 1,000 miles here today to denigrate Ron Kind. He's doing a good job of that himself. He doesn't need my help. Nor am I here even to oppose him. Because I don't believe in taking America back. The Tea Party has done that. They've taken us back more than 100 years already. I believe in moving America forward with all the people of this country being a part of that forward movement. So I'm here to advocate for a positive, progressive future for the 3rd District of Wisconsin and for the United States of America in the person of a regular guy, a former maintenance man in a motel chain who knows how to make stuff work, a high school history teacher who knows that it's not the great men who made history, but the movements of ordinary Americans, the suffragists, the the abolitionists, the populists, the unionists, the civil rights movement, the women's movement, the environmental movement. A guy who knows that the true political spectrum in our country is not right to left.
Right.
That's theory. That's ideology. The true political spectrum in our country is top to bottom. That's reality. That's where we live. That's your zip code. You know where you are in that spectrum. Myron Buchholz is the one who is a positive force in this country. Not anti-Ron Kind, but pro-people of the 3rd District and of the United States of America. There's a motel just down the street from where I live in South Austin called the Austin Motel. It used to be on the San Antonio-Austin Highway, and it's a renovated old motel now, but they have an iconic marquee out front that says, no additives, no preservatives, corporate free since 1938. That is Myron Buchholz. Not going all the way back to 1938, but nonetheless, no preservatives, no additives. He doesn't need preservatives because you are his preservative. The people themselves. We are the power. We have got to be the power. And the Myron Buchholzes, the Zephyr Teachouts over in New York, the Jamie Raskin in the state of Maryland, all of whom are going to Congress, Bernie Sanders himself, they are not the force. They are the catalyst to rally the force, which is us. We are the power in this country, and we're the preservatives. So my message to you, and I'm sure you're wondering what it is by now, is that it's up to us. It's not up to Myron. It's not up to Jody and Alicia and the great folks who are working on this day in and day out. It's up to us workaday folks to take the stand, to make the difference. As Myron was saying himself, I need you to talk to your neighbors. I need you to talk to your co-workers. I need you to talk to folks in the church tomorrow morning or in the temple today. I need you to talk to strangers on the street. I need you just to spread this word. Talk about what politics actually means. You know, for a lot of people, politics is very confusing, and particularly this year. It's a bizarre kind of exercise. There's nothing natural about politics. I mean, running for office is a very strange thing, I can tell you from experience. And it is not a natural thing. And for people to participate, it means that they've got to give of themselves in a way they're not used to doing and get out of their comfort zones. It can be very, very confusing. I think of Butch Hancock. He's a great singer-songwriter down in Austin. And he, with Joe Ely and Jimmy Dale Gilmore, formed a group out of Lubbock, Texas. They all were raised out on the high plains of Lubbock out there. And Butch was on a radio show I had a decade ago. And he was telling how confusing it was to grow up as a teenage boy with hormones racing through him in that evangelical, puritanical, absolutist Christian society out there. And he said they taught us that sex was the nastiest, the most disgusting thing on earth, and you should save it for someone you love. I don't know what that has to do with anything we're talking about here tonight, but it says a lot about Lubbock, I can tell you that. Well, the cynics will tell you, you can't win. Hell, Myron Buchholz, who the hell is he? He can't win. He's running that. This guy's got millions of dollars. He got the lobbyists in Washington supporting the whole establishment behind him, the entire Democratic delegation. That turns out not to be entirely true, by the way. I don't think Pocan actually endorsed. So I mean, but anyway, they've got the whole establishment thing. They said, well, you can't beat them. They've got the money, they've got the media, they've got the politicians. They've got it all on their side. But as a friend of mine who's been a pioneer in the organic movement put it to me once, he said, Hightower, those who say it can't be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. And that would be you. You're doing it. You're making it happen. You're the one that have the power. You are making it happen, and you are winning. We have Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, 3 days to make a difference. As Lisa was saying earlier, it can't stop here. No, we've got to keep on keeping on, only more so. You're building something big. I think you're building a congressional victory next Tuesday. But even beyond that, you're building a people's movement, which is what Bernie is all about. And those of us who have been behind Bernie is not to run a presidential campaign, but to run a revolution in this country, to take the country back to ordinary, working people. So, a couple of things. We got to keep on keeping on. We got to be more than we have been in the past. A little more gutsier to stand up and speak out. I campaigned for Bernie when he was first running for Congress up in Vermont many moons ago. And we were in Montpelier, the state capitol there, and political rally, and afterwards a guy came up wearing a big old political button, a big one. And it's the best one I ever saw. It said, "Wearing a button is not enough." We can't be a nation of button wearers, can we? We've got to be a little stronger than that. So we've got to stand out. And then we've got to persevere beyond this election to the next election, which is going to be next spring when we're running for mayor and city council and school board, et cetera. And then in 2018 for the by-election. And then 2020 again for the presidential election, and then on down the road. That's how you build a movement. You keep going. Willie Nelson told me once, he said, "Hightower, the early bird might get the worm, but it's the second mouse that gets the cheese." I always need that to lay out there a little bit. Might want to explain it to some of the slower people here in the country. All right. Well, enough of this. The thing is, thank you for what you were doing. You're doing something big. That's why I'm here. And that's why people like me, Larry Cohen of the CWA, Ben Jealous of the NAACP, Nina Turner out of Ohio, so many great people are in this movement, is because this movement is going to succeed, because the people are on the move. The people are the ones that are going to make the difference, as has always been the case. So I'm just here to say, again, keep on keeping on, but a little more so than you've been doing in the past. I'll leave you with this thought. It's from the late, great Southern humorist Louis Grizzard. And he said something that we in the South have always known to be true. And that is, there's a big difference between being naked and being naked. Being naked, well, you have no clothes on. Being naked, that means you have no clothes on and you are up to something. So let's get up to something. Let's get naked together. Let's get behind Myron Buckholz and make him our congressperson from the 3rd Congressional District of Wisconsin. Thank you. Thanks for what you're doing.